Hey, welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're going to talk about something that seems really common, a fall from a height. But we're going to look at it in a whole new way. And we'll explore a pretty revolutionary solution that could, well, pretty much engineer it out of existence. So let's kick things off with this really powerful idea. A fall, it's not just that one moment, It's not just the impact or a broken bone. It's really the first domino to fall in a long, often invisible crisis. We're talking about a cascade of damage, both physical and psychological, that can go on for years.
Okay, so where does all that cost actually come from? Well, back in 2019, the total economic hit from injuries in the U.S. was, get this, a staggering $4.2 trillion. But here's the crazy part. Look at this chart. Less than 10% of that is what you'd expect. Medical bills, lost paychecks. The other 90+%? That's what they call hidden costs. And that's all about the loss of quality of life, of human potential. It's huge.
Right, so to really get our heads around why that hidden cost is so massive, we have to look past the physical stuff, the broken bones, and dive into what happens afterward, the deep psychological fallout.
And this number, honestly, it's just stunning. 50%. Half of all people who have a severe fall say their emotional and mental health goes downhill in the 6 months after it happened. That trauma sticks around long after the physical wounds have healed. And that emotional spiral often hardens into something very specific. A condition called fear of falling, or FOF. And this isn't just, being a little more careful. No, this is a really debilitating anxiety that ends up creating this awful, self-fulfilling prophecy.
And this is that cycle right here. It's a vicious one. A fall sparks fear. That fear makes you avoid doing things. You become more isolated. And what happens when you stop moving? Your muscles get weaker. And that physical decline, ironically, makes you way more likely to fall again. The very fear of falling is what makes it more likely to happen. It's a trap.
Okay, so that's the psychological side. Now let's switch gears and look at what's actually happening to the body. A fall from a height causes a really unique and, frankly, brutal kind of trauma.
It's got a name. Vertical deceleration trauma, or VDT. See, when you fall from up high, it's not just about hitting the ground. A massive wave of energy literally shoots up your entire body, what they call the kinetic chain. It goes from your feet, right up through your spine, and all the way to your skull. And it leaves behind a very distinct pattern of injury.
And a classic part of that injury signature is a broken heel bone, a calcaneal fracture. Sometimes it's even called the lover's fracture. Now, for a doctor, this is a huge red flag, because if the impact was strong enough to shatter your heel, that tells them the force probably traveled all the way up and caused hidden and potentially catastrophic fractures in the spine.
But what's really interesting is that how this all plays out isn't the same for everybody. There's this, they call it a gender paradox. So while women, often because of osteoporosis, tend to have way more fractures from lower energy falls, it's actually men who have a much higher death rate. And why is that? It's because men are more likely to have those really high-energy falls, a lot of times at work, which lead to severe traumatic brain injuries.
Okay, so we've seen how devastating this problem really is, from the mind to the body. So how do we fix it? Well, the answer might just be in rethinking safety completely, from the top down, or maybe I should say, from the air down.
In the world of safety science, there's this core idea called the hierarchy of controls. And what it shows is that the least effective way to keep someone safe is to rely on things like a helmet, personal protective equipment. The most effective way? Just get rid of the hazard altogether. Eliminate it.
And that is exactly where drones come in. Think about it. By replacing a person on a ladder with a drone in the air, you achieve the ultimate goal. You get to the very top of that pyramid, hazard elimination.
And this just lays it out so clearly, right? It's a huge paradigm shift. The old way depends on a person being careful, remembering their training, using their harness correctly. It's all about managing human behavior. The new way, it uses technology to take the human out of that dangerous spot entirely. And for that specific task, the risk of a fall drops to zero. Gone.
But here's the thing. Getting rid of the hazard doesn't just save lives and prevent injuries. It also has a staggering financial impact, and people are already starting to notice.
So let's talk numbers. $24 billion. That's the estimated cost every single year for those high-risk falls at work in the U.S. alone. And these are exactly the kinds of falls that drone technology can prevent.
And if you crunch the numbers, that could translate into about $3.6 billion in healthcare savings every year. And that's with just a pretty modest 15% of those high-risk jobs switching over. I mean, that is a massive return on investment.
And you know what? The market is already getting the message. We're seeing some high-risk contractors who've really gone all in on drone programs, and their insurance premiums are dropping by as much as 40%. That's the financial world basically validating in real time that the risk has been seriously reduced.
And it doesn't even stop there. On top of all the massive savings on healthcare and insurance, the tech is just plain more efficient. Companies are saving, on average, over $5,000 for every single inspection they do with a drone instead of a person.
But look, a real solution isn't just about swapping out a ladder for a drone. It's more complicated than that. It's about people, and it's about taking a much bigger, more holistic view of a worker's total well-being.
And that's where this idea of total worker health comes into play. It's a framework that forces us to see the whole picture. So, yeah, we've eliminated one huge hazard, the physical risk of falling. But have we accidentally introduced a new one? Like, say, the psychosocial stress that might come from being monitored by a machine all day.
So getting this tech everywhere isn't just a slam dunk. It means we have to be smart and proactive. We have to navigate all these hurdles, everything from FAA regulations and budget limits to managing new on-site risks, like a drone failing, and maybe most importantly, dealing with the human side of things, worker anxiety, distraction, and all that.
So, in the end, this technology puts a really fundamental choice right in front of us. It's a choice about how much we really value being proactive, preventing the fall in the first place, versus just reacting to the aftermath. And it leaves us with one simple but really powerful question to think about. If we actually have the tools to engineer a devastating hazard right out of existence, what's really stopping us?